Hi, Senator Lujan. Welcome, Congressman Dingle. Senator Lujan, we're going to turn it over to you to get started.
I was unmuting on the wrong page. I apologize. There we go. And Steph, are we able to, do you want to get started right now?
Yep, we're ready to go.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, everyone, sorry for the delay there. I want to say good morning to everybody as well. I want to thank everyone for coming today and for their commitment to keeping this initiative on the path to getting adopted. Not only keeping our roads safe and our families safe. So just thank you so very much to each and every one of you. Now to Dr. Michael and the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, I want to say thank you for organizing this effort as well. And Ken Snyder for your technical expertise and fearless commitment. Thank you all for your courage and for your commitment. Now, a special thank you to our friend, to my colleague, a mentor, someone that is just truly incredible in every aspect of her life, and that's none other than United States Representative Debbie Dingle, who has been a fierce advocate on this issue, and the House lead for the Ride and Halt Act. Thank you so much to our friend there, Debbie. To Stephanie Manning, I just want to say thank you so much as well. Now, what I've learned from Mothers Against Drunk Driving is that our personal stories are our power. And I want to say thank you so much for sharing so many incredible stories from across the United States. Now, too many Americans know the pain of losing a loved one to drunk and impaired driving. And many of us know the pain that is caused when we survive. Now, the good news is now that together we can prevent these tragedies. And across the country, thousands of families mourn the loss of loved ones to drunk and impaired driving. It's only getting worse. The past 3 years have seen a sharp increase in these crashes. But now we have the technology, the determination, and the law to stop it. Congresswoman Dingle and I worked with Senator Scott and Representatives Rice and McKinley, colleagues from across the aisle, to send the HALT Act to President Biden's desk. And I'm grateful for your voices and support in helping advance this critical legislation as part of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which was signed into law in November. Now, as the survivor of a drunk driving crash myself, as I said earlier, when I was hit head on, it shook me to my core. And it's one of the reasons I was so proud to work on this initiative, to lead this initiative in the Senate, a provision that will save thousands of lives each year on behalf of constituents, not just in New Mexico and Michigan, but across America. And it will also prevent families from receiving that painful phone call of losing a loved one or saying that you have been hurt or injured or worse. Now that it's law, the United States is one step closer to putting an end to drunk and impaired driving for good. Now, Congress must ensure that the federal government, the Department of Transportation, and National Highway Traffic Safety Administration are fully aligned to implement this law and initiate rulemaking. It's also going to be important for us to stand up to anyone or any group that is trying to slow this down or stop this. That's why our work matters. Now, the technical working group announced today by the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health will provide essential support to ensure this bill becomes a reality. Well, let me change that. To ensure that this law becomes a reality. That's what we're talking about here. The new technical working group will bring together the brightest minds in auto safety inside and outside to determine the safest and most effective way to implement and regulate impaired driving prevention technology. The working group will help the public answer questions and understand what it will mean to have this technology in every new car. Collaboration between these experts will make our roads safer, it will keep families together, and it will save lives. So again, thank you for all your partnership on this issue. Now, I know that together we can put an end to drunk and impaired driving. My gratitude to Matt, to everyone you've brought to the table, to the families for the courage that they have shown. And before I turn this over to an incredible leader across America, someone that is an incredible advocate, our United States Representative of Michigan, Debbie Dingle, I just want to conclude by saying that, remember, this has already been done in Europe. And we saw announcements shortly after the law passed that a major auto manufacturer, Subaru, is pressing forward. Let's just bring it to America. Let's start saving lives right away. So thank you all for your commitment. And I'm going to turn this over to our dearest friend, incredible leader, someone that is just so very special to me. And that's our United States Representative, Debbie Dingle.
So Ben Ray, it's such an honor to be with him. He has been my mentor since I arrived in the Congress. He's my friend. And quite frankly, we wouldn't have gotten this bill over the finish line without him in the Senate. The two of us know how to work together. We had the passion and compassion to know the necessity of it. And it wouldn't have gotten over the finish line without Ben Ray. And I'm really honored to be here with all of you today. And I too want to thank Stephanie and Mad and all of the families and the advocates who have been engaged in this fight for a long time to get us to where we are now. So this is an extremely important day. And all of you, there are so many that have helped us get to this point in trying to end drunk driving once and for all. No community is immune from the pain of loss because of drunk driving. And we have to do all that we can to stop that pain and keep it from happening, keep anyone else from being killed or injured on the roads because someone is driving drunk. And unfortunately, in the last couple of years, we've seen more traffic fatalities. We've seen more people driving drunk. It's a serious issue. This really hit home in 2019 for me when a family that I knew from Dearborn died. They were very popular in our community. They had 3 children that we all knew, and they were driving home from Christmas vacation. Drunk driver hit them and they were all killed. And those classmates of the 3 kids who I knew looked at me and said, technology exists. Why haven't you done something? If you had, you could have saved their lives. That hit me in my heart. And I made a commitment to those kids that we were going to go to work and get something done. So I've always cared about it, but those children in their innocence asked a question we should all ask ourselves. If the technology exists that saves lives, why aren't we using it? So I've never stopped working, and I'm going to keep working on this. Drinking and driving kills 28 people every single day in the United States. That's about 1 person every 32 minutes. I'm sick and tired of Congress not doing anything about this. And I knew we needed to fight tooth and nail if we're going to bring an end to the trauma of drunk driving deaths and injury in this country. So we have the technology to prevent drunk driving. And drunk driving is the single largest cause of traffic fatalities in our country. It's past time that we use it and save those lives. So it's why we fought so hard to include the Halt Drunk Driving Act in the bipartisan infrastructure law, which directs NHTSA to commence rulemaking on the advanced passive drunk driving prevention technology. As NHTSA begins this process, the technical working group announced today will ensure this technology is implemented quickly and effectively. That's what Ben Ray and I worked with all of the stakeholders to ensure that this is going to happen. It's going to save lives, and it's going to help make this technology available to consumers and our roads safer. I am going to keep working. Our job didn't stop when we got the bill passed and enacted into law. What this working group is going to do now is going to make it the reality. I know Ben Reyes and I am committed to continuing to work with advocacy groups, industry, and federal regulators. These are preventable deaths. It's critical that we do what we can to prevent any more tragedies. Hard work got us to where we are, and now together we can stop drunk and impaired driving in this country once and for all. And with that, I'm honored to introduce Jeffrey Michael from Johns Hopkins, who will be serving as co-chair of the technical working group. Jeffrey, take it away.
Thank you, Representative Dingle. Yes, my name is Jeff Michael. I'm a distinguished scholar at the Johns Hopkins Center for Injury Research and Policy. I'm also proud to have been among the senior career staff at the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration for 30 years. I'm pleased to be co-chairing the technical working group on impairment prevention technology, and I want to thank Senator Lujan, Representative Dingle, and the other sponsors for their vision and their action to virtually eliminate drunk driving. A requirement that all passenger cars be equipped with impairment detection technology will save more than 9,000 lives per year when fully implemented. Now, full implementation will take some time, but an analysis by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety shows that substantial benefits will begin just a few years after automakers begin implementing the technology. Within 3 years of the mandate, the technology is expected to save more than 1,000 lives per year. In 6 years, the savings will increase to more than 2,000 lives per year. No other drunk driving solution offers either the short-term or comes close to the long-term public health remedy provided by in-vehicle impairment prevention technology. The technology working group gathers a dozen internationally recognized experts on technology, driver behavior, and public health who will provide factual, evidence-based information to inform stakeholders of how this technology can be implemented and to facilitate policy development. We will conduct national surveys of driver attitudes, highlight examples of promising technology approaches, and monitor international progress with similar technologies. More than 500,000 people have been killed by drunk drivers in this country since data collection began 40 years ago. An end to this public health crisis is in sight, and we want to make sure that we can get there as quickly and as positively as possible. So let me introduce my co-chair, Stephanie Manning. Stephanie and I have worked together for 20 years. I'm grateful for her many contributions to the fight against drunk driving, and especially for her work in support of this congressional mandate. I'm excited to now be working with her and the technical working group towards its successful implementation. So Stephanie, please.
Thank you, Jeff. It's an honor to be co-chairing the technical working group with you. We have a wonderful history of doing a lot of good work together and a trust. So very excited to move forward. Good morning. I'm Stephanie Manning, Chief Government Affairs Officer of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and I'm honored to be here today. I want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank members of the technical working group for dedicating their time and expertise to this effort. It is truly incredible, the group of experts we've assembled to help move this process forward. There is a national emergency on our roadways. NHTSA estimates that almost 43,000 people died in traffic crashes last year alone. That's the highest number since 2005, and nearly 1/3 of those deaths are alcohol related. The impaired driving prevention technology rulemaking is the solution to eliminate the impaired driving crisis. The mandate is technology neutral, and there are many types of technologies to consider. MAD has had many successes on Capitol Hill. The 21-year-old minimum drinking age law, the national 0.08 BAC standard, zero tolerance for youth, high visibility enforcement campaigns, many life-saving measures. But none is more significant than this new motor vehicle safety standard requirement, which will save nearly 10,000 lives a year when fully implemented, virtually eliminating drunk driving. In addition to a bipartisan group of members of Congress and a war room of victims and survivors from across the country, led by MAD National President Alex Otte, I would like to mention 4 people who were pivotal to the passage of this legislation, 3 of whom have joined us this morning. The first, who is not here, is Rena Abbas Taylor of Northville, Michigan, who lost her sister, brother-in-law, 2 nieces and nephew in a horrible crash with a drunk driver in early January 2019. This is the family who Congressman Dingle mentioned. Rena's advocacy and determination in the face of overwhelming grief were monumental in ensuring this legislative victory. The second is Congresswoman Debbie Dingle of Michigan, who introduced the first version of this legislation named in honor of the Abbas family less than 1 week after the fatal crash. Representative Dingle was a tenacious and courageous leader in getting this life-saving measure enacted into law. The third is Senator Ben Ray Lujan of New Mexico, who made enactment of this legislation a top priority as soon as he joined the Senate. As a drunk driving victim himself, the senator knows how important it is to get this standard on the books and to get this technology into all new vehicles. He has also spent time with drunk driving victims in New Mexico and understands their pain. And I'm pleased to introduce Ken Snyder, Executive Director of the Shingo Institute at the Utah State Huntsman School of Business, whose extensive knowledge of available impaired driving technologies was instrumental in making the case for this bill. Ken will tell you more about how and why he came to MAD and how meaningful this new law is to him and his family. Thank you, Ken.
I want to start my story by telling about my daughter, Katie Snyder Evans. This is Katie and her family the Christmas before she was killed by a drunk driver. As you can see, the family is a little boy heavy, and Katie always wanted a girl, and so she decided to get pregnant one more time. And she got more than she actually calculated for, and ended up having twin girls. But unfortunately, she had complications in the pregnancy, and the twins were born when they were 25 weeks along. And you can see they were just a little bit over a pound, and they were very tiny at the time. This is the pictures of them taken on the day they were born. Katie lived about 40 minutes away from the UCLA Medical Center where the girls were in the NICU. And she went down every single day and visited her girls. And the protocol in the NICU is that between holding a baby in the NICU, you have to re-sanitize before you can hold another one. They don't allow you to hold two at the same time until they reach a certain size and risk profile. And so on the very first day, Katie was able to hold the two girls together. It was a Wednesday night, October 4th. 2 days later, when Katie was driving home from the hospital, she was hit and killed by a drunk driver. And that is why I am here, is because my daughter was taken away, leaving her family, and especially her two brand new little girls without a mother, her husband without a wife, and us without a daughter. And as we worked with the family and tried to get the family stabilized and get girls home from the hospital, I kept thinking back on my other part of life, which I'll explain in just a minute. But it was a big tragedy for us. I want to just tell a little bit about the accident itself, though. The driver of the car that killed Katie, a young woman, 21 years old, driving 95 miles an hour on a city boulevard, veering back and forth, sideswiped a car, almost ran into the back of another car, then veered out of the way, hit a side barricade, a Jersey wall, where there was a construction zone, then veered back in front of the car that she almost hit the center median, and then came down, flew into the air, and then came down on top of Katie, who was going the other direction in her lane. I just will share briefly a picture of this is the car Katie was driving. You can see how the other vehicle came down right on top of her, killing her instantly and unnecessarily. Any one of a number of technologies could have prevented that driver from reaching that point where there was a fatal crash if they had been implemented on the vehicle. As we were helping the family, I kept thinking about what could be done to prevent this sort of thing from happening. My curiosity is enhanced by the fact that my job is to run what is called the Shingo Institute. And I will just share a little bit about that right now. We are named after a fellow by the name of Shigeo Shingo. He was a consultant that was hired by Toyota many, many years ago to help them develop what is now known as the Toyota Production System. It is a system based on organizational and operational excellence. From our roots in the auto industry, it has spread beyond that quite a bit, but it still has a huge following in the automobile industry. And this includes several people that I have worked with and know very well. And more importantly, not just the automakers, but in this case, the tier 1 auto electronics suppliers. 5 of the 6 largest companies in the world who make the brains that go into the cars are people who use our model to drive excellence in their organization. These are people who are my friends. These are people that I've known for many years. So once we got the family stabilized, I decided that I wanted to just find out, is there a way to prevent drunk drivers from killing people? And I started calling my friends in the industry. And to a person, they told me, yes, the technology exists to prevent drunk driving, and particularly fatal accidents. And then told me, and they proceeded to tell me different options, many of which are on cars today, but just not being used in a way to prevent drunk driving. And this got me to think, now that I know something about this from the training that these friends had provided, I can't just sit on it. I have to do something. And so I contacted Matt and said, I would like to work with you to get technology that will prevent drunk driving on all new vehicles. And Matt agreed to join me, or I agreed to join Matt. I'm not quite sure which came first, but we started working together. And we developed, I'm going to share with you one more image here. And this is, we got a number of mad advocates together. We called it the War Room. And here's a typical War Room scenario. We met on a regular basis. We did training of them. And these are the people who went and met with members of Congress, along with some of those who were leading the effort. And we managed to get the technology bills passed that were introduced by Senator Lujan and Representative Dingle, and signed into law in November of last year, as Senator Lujan mentioned. Now, with that, I am honored that I have the opportunity to be on this technology working group. My role here is to help as much as I can with the implementation of the rulemaking and to represent victims and their families. As has been stated by others, this legislation was passed and signed into law. It is a legal mandate. There are many technologies available that could be used that only need the software upgraded to enable them to be used in a way that prevents drunk and impaired driving. I am tech neutral, Matt is tech neutral. We don't know which are the best technologies to be implemented now and which might be better later, or one's not implemented at all. That is for the regulators to decide, but the working committee is here to help them, provide them with information that will help them with that regulatory process. As has been mentioned, we are in a crisis. We were stabilized at about 10,000 deaths a year, which is bad enough, but the last 2 years it has increased each year to where last year over 12,000 people died. One of the other things that is possible, some of the technologies that could be used to stop drunk and other impairments work equally well with those other impairments, such as texting or drowsy driving, which is estimated about 2,000 people die each year. So instead of 12,000, we could be talking about eliminating 14,000 deaths each year. We understand this will be a difficult rulemaking. There are a lot of different possible technologies. None of them are perfect in every case. And we can't let perfect be the enemy of better. We just need to get better and stop the carnage on the roads. With that, I'd like to turn the time over to Shannon Price, who is going to be our moderator and facilitate the question and answer period. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ken. So we'd now like to invite members of the media to submit questions through the Q&A Zoom function, and then we can give the speakers an opportunity to respond. I do have one question we've received so far for the group. Can you tell us about the experts you've assembled to be on the technical working group? From Anonymous.
Jeff, do you want to handle that, or would you like me to?
I'm happy to.
Sure.
We have 13 experts gathered, and they represent a variety of backgrounds, from public health to automotive technology. And we're pleased to have a European representative that has been involved in Euro NCAP, to have some colleagues at Johns Hopkins who will be joining, and some colleagues from advocacy organizations, including Consumer Reports and Advocates for Highway and Auto Safety.
I also just mentioned a couple of folks who either are retired from or currently working for the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. So we've assembled just what Jeff and I think are an incredible team of experts that can really lend a lot of support to this process.
And we do have one retired industry representative that I'm happy
Yes.
joined us.
Yes.
That's
Give us
correct.
a lot of good insights into what's going on there.
We do have a former vice president from Denso, one of the largest suppliers to the auto industry in the world, I believe. So that's very exciting as well.
Great. We did get one more question. Are there technologies that already exist that could help prevent impaired driving?
I'll take that one. Yes, there are. And let me just give a couple of examples of how other technologies could be used. There are a couple of different programs, both by the federal government and by some of the suppliers in industry to do alcohol detection. That is certainly one of the preferred ways of stopping this, but there's a couple of other technologies, and let me just mention two of them really quickly. One is lane assist. So most drunk drivers, it's estimated 80 to 90% of drunk drivers will drive recklessly prior to a fatal crash. And lane assist technology, most of you know it because it nudges you back in the center of the lane if you have it on your vehicle now. But that can be programmed to detect reckless driving. And if it detects reckless driving that doesn't stop after a warning, it could determine that the driver is impaired and is driving recklessly because they are impaired. And therefore it can engage an automatic shutdown feature, which will in essence park the car safely on the side of the road. And some cars have this feature already. They have the software in place. It will actually activate. But most cars that have lane assist don't have the software. And that's when I said the software hasn't been enabled, but the tech is already on the car, the sensors that will allow this. Another example, and this is a little easier to understand from a drowsy driver or a texting driver point of view, but there's cameras on the inside of the car that monitor the condition of the driver. And those could be used to look at drunk drivers who typically don't look at the road when they're driving because they're looking away or not looking at anything at all. But it also could detect if somebody's looking down and texting or somebody is distracted by something and looking away. But those are two different technologies that could be used in this case. But once again, it needs to be programmed to detect drunk and other impaired driving, and then engage the software that would shut the vehicle down.
And I'd just like to add quickly that back in 2017, Euro NCAP put out a roadmap called, I think, the 2025 roadmap for the Euro NCAP system. And we've got a lot of great information from them, which we think needs to be looked at, evaluated, and worked into our system here in the United States. But we've got a lot of information from what NCAP is currently doing, including a quote I'll just read briefly. Euro NCAP envisions an incentive for driving monitoring systems that effectively detect impaired and distracted driving and give appropriate warning and take effective action. For example, initiating a safe evasive maneuver, going into limp home mode, increasing sensitivity of electronic stability control, lane support, speed controls, etc. Implementation in the overall rating is planned in phases, starting with systems that have already entered the market. This was back in 2017. It's now 2022, and we're just behind, in this country in terms of looking at a lot of systems that already exist that could be used for things like impairment.
Excellent. We have one more question and then we will be wrapping up. So if anyone has anything else, this is your last chance. When does the technical working group first meet, and will regular updates on progress be provided?
Jeff?
Yes, we are planning our first meeting over the summer, and certainly will provide regular updates and reports from the group as we work.
Excellent. That concludes the Q&A portion of this event. Thank you everyone for attending this very exciting announcement today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.